Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly astrological weather. This is your place to get practical guidance for not only navigating, but also thriving with the cosmic tides. My name is Amanda Walsh. I'm the founder of Astrology Hub, and I am here with your favorite weather woman, Predictive Astrologer, Anne Ortelee. And we are so grateful you are all here. Yes, the time change has pushed this broadcast back 1 hour because you all change clocks, but I don't in Hawaii. So 6 a.m. was a little too early for me. So we're keeping it 7 a.m. for me, but that means it's an hour later for most of you, unless I guess if you're in Arizona and or if you're international. I don't think you guys do the clock thing, do you?
I don't know.
Such a weird
we do, yeah. And so we didn't want to make Amanda get up and sit in the dark on her balcony, but we can see the sunset rising above her. And I kind of said, let's get some candles. We'll have the sun come in. And then she was like, no, I'm not getting up.
I mean, it would have been beautiful and mystical and amazing, but yeah, that's a little early.
Not doing it.
Yeah, but we're not doing it now.
Not doing it.
Yeah, Anne, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for joining us, as always, on this amazing Monday ritual that we have together with all of our friends around the globe. Let's start with the intensity scale. What are we looking at this week?
You know, it's a turbulent week, so it's not necessarily intense, but it's a lot of changes because we have a number of planets changing signs. So whenever that happens, it's always like a little bump, 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 bump. So Mercury's coming in. So I'm gonna do another range. I always feel a little guilty when I go, well, 2 to 20 or 2 to 15, but I'm gonna do a 2 to 15. Because it's got that bump. Because Mercury has been in Aquarius. We've gotten really used to him being in Aquarius since January, and this week today he dives into the ocean of Pisces, right? And Venus and the Sun have both been in Pisces for a while, Sun for 30 days, Venus for a little less, and they're going to go into Aries. So they're going to get feisty and fast and quick and go, 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 but they're also answering to Mars in Gemini. So Mars in Gemini goes, and you have to do it twice. You're going to do it, and then you're going to have to do it again, because Mars in Gemini is, what are the options? What are the choices? Do two. Pursue two. So, so we have a little turbulent week that way in terms of stuff. And we also have Mars for the first time since Saturn has entered Aquarius, right? So whenever a planet changes sign, we always watch that first aspect because it gives us a little idea of what's going to happen. So Mars in Gemini is going to come to trine Saturn in Aquarius. And so that's what we call an opening trine, which encourages us to take action. But of course, Mars is in Gemini, so we have to do everything twice. So so it's like double. So we were fiddling around with your calendar, your camera earlier. We fiddled around with our time. Just watch. You do it once, and then someone comes back and goes, don't shred the document. My friend Sylvia was a very high-end assistant to a big CEO, a big company. And she had 2 garbage cans. She had one for trash, and then she had another one. And she would always put all the papers in order, like she was filing them in the garbage can, right? And she had Mars and Gemini. And so invariably at some point, she'd have to go in the garbage can and pull out the clean paper that she'd filed standing up in the garbage can. And then at the end of the day, she could get rid of it. But she didn't rip them. So don't rip up any papers this week, because you're going to have to do it again, or you're going to go, oh my God, or I sent it wrong, or I left out something, and people are going, is that Mercury retrograde? I'm like, no, it's Mars and Gemini. Doubles, and that's through April 25th. We get rid of that energy. But between now and then, if you do it once and you have to do it twice, and don't take it personally, it's not the universe being mean. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just saying, do it again. You missed something. You left something out. You didn't say something. That's all that energy. But because of all the changes of the planets, we do have a little bit of a bump. So, but we have nice moons. We have the new moon on the weekend, which was in Pisces at 23. And today's a little bit stressed, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the moon's in Taurus. That's like that's the second best moon there is, because it's exalted, it's springtime, it's good food, it's chocolate, it's all that. And then Gemini moon, which has got great closing aspects, again, double. And then we get into a Cancer moon on the weekend, which is a little crabby. on Sunday and Monday next week. So.
And it's so funny. I had that thought this morning. It was like, God, it feels like Mercury retrograde. It also feels like someone put their foot on the gas. It's like, what? Everything just like the weekend was all dreamy and like, just like luxuriating in this real dreamy energy. And then today it was like, whoa, what just happened? It's like,
Moon and Aries. Moon and Aries. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why, it's really helpful. When I was first learning astrology, I used to call my friend Stacy. And, after she went to therapy and I'd look at her chart and where the moon was, I say, okay, did you talk about this? Did you talk about that in therapy? Because where the moon is in our chart every day is what we focus on. It's what we're working on emotionally, what we have to talk about, do, or be. So, yeah. And remember, all the planets are direct right now. So everybody's flying full steam ahead until we get into Taurus time when they start to stop and go backwards. So we're Taurus, Gemini, all the planets slow down. But right now, everybody's full steam ahead, direct, moving. So it does feel like a speedy time. And of course, yeah, Moon in Aries is answering to Mars and Gemini, which is that careening. That's where I do the training wheels, like a little, and kind of like training wheels, you do this back and forth thing, you rock and roll. It's funny I was watching the voice auditions last night and they're all rocking in their chair, and I'm like, oh, look at the bouncing back and forth, as they're listening to, after they press the button and turn around, they're like, So, and if anything, the banter on that show was very Gemini. Well, you did this and you did that, and very Mars and Gemini competitive, a lot of blocking, a lot of talking trash about each other, Gemini, because Gemini is a little competitive. It's got a little sibling rivalry energy there. So you might feel like, wow, you're being a little competitive with me. And it's Gemini, so it's competitive through words, through ideas, through how we communicate. And it also sometimes doesn't tell the truth because Gemini can fit. It's the sign of Mercury. Mercury isn't always, everybody goes, Mercury, Mercury. I'm like, yeah, Mercury could be a little tricky. Sometimes he tells you the truth, and sometimes he leaves the part out, and you go, wow. But you're also, Gemini is seeing parallels, right? So you're going to go, that's kind of like that, isn't it? So that part's very helpful of Gemini because he compares and figures it out. So I'm a Virgo, I count. My sister's a Gemini. So when we were little, my mother, we all opened presents one at a time in age order, and my mother wanted to watch us open them. And we'd get to my sister, and she'd kind of go like this, search around, and then she'd grab a present. And that was every time she opened a present, she would do this little searching thing. And one Christmas morning, she said to my mother, so why am I opening this present after that present? And my mother's like, what are you talking about? She goes, well, this is present number 6, and that's present number 7. Why am I opening them in that order? My mother looked at her and goes, it's because your sister counts. So my mother would have, 10 tags, and you would sometimes get socks in a present, and sometimes you'd get pants and a shirt and socks. You all had the same amount of presents to open. Because Anne counts, and then my sister, she's the Gemini, she's looking for the patterns. Think of Gemini Brett, he's always in there showing you the patterns, right?
Yeah.
And my sister's like, why is it in this particular order? Like, I open this present after this, and it's because Anne counts. Oh. And so that's Gemini. It's a sibling story, it's a paying attention to the details story, and it's understanding, you're going to look for order, but you're also going to maybe find out that what you thought you were opening them in this way, you're actually doing it because your sister counts or whoever.
So, Anne, what would be the invitation? So if we know that things have sped up, we know that there's this, we need to do things twice potentially. Is the invitation to slow down, to purposefully take our time, or is it just we have to go with it and know that that's kind of what we're working with?
You got to trust the training wheels. Yeah.
Trust the training wheels.
Because remember when they took the training wheels off, what that meant. Remember, our analogy last year was we're caterpillars and we're learning to fly, right? So now we're flying. But if you've ever watched a baby bird, kind of take off and then he lands on the ground and he's like, oh man, that wasn't fun. Same way training wheels, take them off, you can run into the mailbox, right? Because now you're steering without anything on the side. Your analogy a couple weeks ago, like, okay, do I press the gas? Yeah. And everybody goes, oh, right, she doesn't know how to drive. So the energy of Gemini is duality, training wheels, but it's unstable. It's a little back and forth. It's a little this, a little of that, and it kind of changes his mind a lot. So the idea is we're going to give you options. What do you want? And you're going to be like, Now with Mercury going from Aquarius, which is very clear, because Mercury is exalted in Aquarius, going into Pisces, we're completely losing our clarity until the beginning of April, when it goes April 3rd, I think it goes into Aries. But Mercury in Pisces is like, you're in the water. You don't have you may find, song lyrics work for you. We had the Grammys last night, and there were a few songs. I'm like, I never heard that song, but it's not on my Pandora search list. So it's finding new emotional energy for things and making emotional decisions, because Mercury's in water now. So he was in Aquarius. He was going to be logical, the approach. Now you're going to find your decisions are a little more emotional. We took the wheels off. The wheels are off. And now you're like, well, what if I tip over? It's like, you rode it fine without the wheels. You're doing good. You didn't go on the wheels. You were going straight. And you're like, nee. So it's understanding that it's like a precision thing, but emotional precision.
So what would you say then feeling our way through decision making right now, really paying attention to the feedback from our body, really paying attention, okay, that feels right and good, and oh wow, that doesn't feel good. Okay. And then what you said before, what I'm hearing, and we talked about this last week and maybe even the week before, but is this embracing the need to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. And so that instead of slowing down and trying to avoid mistakes, which is where I was going with it, it's more embrace the mistakes when they happen and understand that that's part of the process that we're in right now. And that's the feedback we need to know whether or not we're on track. If we don't make the mistake, then we won't actually know that we're going in the right direction, or maybe not the best direction for us. Right.
Well, and a lot of times when you ride the bike, the way to keep the bike moving is you have to pedal.
Yes.
When you slow down, you get more wobbly.
True.
But then you're going faster, and you're going, now I'm going faster. So it's kind of one of those, not only wobbly, but fast and slow. Right?
Well, the crash hurts a lot more when you're going faster.
True. But you're more unstable when you're going slow.
Right.
So if you're nervous about being unstable, go a little faster or stop. You can stop. You can always stop. You can always just go, you know what? I'm putting on the brakes, putting my feet down, gonna sit here for a second and deal with my anxiety. Because this is also anxiety, kind of free floating anxiety. And I do want to apologize a little bit for last week, because I didn't, I was talking about the happy part of the Pisces, right? And you and I are working on a project which we're going to announce down the road. So I was looking to elect a chart, which is when an astrologer picks a chart that's good, right? And I'm going through minute by minute, and I keep getting the part of deception, the part of treachery, the part of betrayal, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is like for 3 days, like what the hell? So I hang up and I call Solar Fire, which is the software I use, and I get Madeline on the phone, and I say to her, Madeline, we do the niceties stuff. And she'd given her husband a beautiful gift on Facebook. So I said, oh my God, I thought that was just gorgeous, the gift you gave him, because they were celebrating anniversary. And then I said, I'm getting this. She goes, well, let me look up what the parts mean. And so the part is ascendant equals Sun Neptune. Well, Sun and Neptune were joined. I said, okay, look up the part of betrayal. Ascendant equals Sun Neptune. I'm like, oh, okay. Ascendant equal. All of them were ascendant equals Sun Neptune. I'm like, all right, I got to wait till the Sun gets past Neptune. And I did, because I was working on something and I wanted to mail it with a good aspect. But it also was, people were. I watch Facebook or I watch different things. People are going, oh my God, I feel so betrayed. I feel so betrayed, or I feel so like, you didn't see me, you didn't hear me, you didn't whatever. And that was the Sun Neptune. And I completely didn't put that in, which Mars and Gemini, I'll tell you this week. So if you cried your eyes out last week, that's why. Sun, Neptune, Moon, and Venus all together. aspecting, and the part of feeling like, oh my God, am I betrayed? Am I being supported? And we did see a lot of betrayal on the news or on the, depending on how you signed up for it or what you thought of it. So it's interesting because it also, all this stuff surfaced, right, with that Pisces last week. So, but I was, normally it's like maybe a half an hour, but I'm like, oh my God, this is like days. What's wrong? And I'm thinking, did my software break when I upgraded it? And it's like, no, Ann, you just don't know the formula for those parts, because, whatever. So, and what an Arabic part is in the old days, before computers, they used to calculate them. And everybody has a part of fortune, which is where you get your money from. You have a part of spirit, which talks about your spiritual path. But there's also the part of garbanzo beans. There's the part of animal husbandry. You're going to buy a horse. Is it going to have babies? You're going to sail your ship. Is it going to have babies? So there's a famous story in astrology. Evangeline Adams warned J.P. Morgan not to sail on the Titanic because it was going to crash, because it was getting launched on a bunch of shipwreck stars. But it also had the part of catastrophe, the part of danger, the part of, it had some really, and I use them when I'm doing a reading, because I did a reading the other day, and the person is a death doula. She helps people. She's a birth doula too. She helps people coming in, but she also helps people leaving, when they go. And she had part of fortune aspecting death. So it's not the death of your baby, but it's the death of your life as a single person. Now you're responsible, or literally, you're leaving. So the old astrologers would look at him and go, not a good day to launch your ship. Not a good day not a good day. Or, yeah, that horse is fertile. Now we can check these things. That one, not so much. I use them a lot, and I really use them when I'm electing a chart, because you don't want to elect a chart that has bad things in it.
Wow. Okay. So you just said a lot of things.
I know. It's Gemini. It's Gemini, and it's almost Mercury.
Yes.
So the key is, if you were really emotional last week and you didn't get warned by us, I was looking at it as a spiritual thing.
You did say it was going to be emotional, though. You did say that we might be overwhelmed.
Yeah, but a lot of people went into the emotion of feeling really betrayed by somebody.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So when we saw
that in the electional chart, you could see that would be deception or betrayal would be a theme. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was the ascendant. It was boom, boom, boom. The ascendant equals this. So a lot of people felt betrayed and abandoned.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And I hadn't looked at the Arabic parts. I'd just done, Neptune,
So Evangeline Adams is John Adams' descendant, correct?
I don't know. I don't know if she's related.
She is.
She is? Okay.
Yes, and she was the one that was in New York.
Yes, she was in New York and Predictive.
And she's also the one that so she warned J.P. Morgan about the Titanic, but then Rick Levine also said that she was on trial in New York City because she had predicted a fire.
She predicted a hotel fire where people died.
Hotel fire, yes. And then they accused her of witchcraft, of course, because who could know that was going to happen? So then they went through this whole court case, and it was then that J.P. Morgan was put on the stand, and it was then that he said the quote, "Anybody can be a millionaire, but it takes an astrologer to become a billionaire." Right. And he was testifying on her behalf that what she was doing was legitimate, that it was helpful, that it was not some, crazy witchcraft thing, which I don't even know what that means. But, and so so the judge had her read
his son's chart.
And then the judge was like, wow, this was actually really helpful. You taught me some things about my son. Thank you. And she was let go.
Found not guilty.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah. Like, it's amazing how far we've come with astrology too. That we can be sitting here having this conversation every week. I don't think either one of us are going to get arrested for witchcraft.
Fingers crossed. No.
But,
and if we are, Amanda, we'll put a spell on him. Okay.
Shh, don't tell anyone.
Yeah. No, it is interesting because, there's an excellent book, which I encourage everybody to read, by Benson Bobrick, Bobrick, and it's called The Fated Sky, Fated. And he talks about the history of astrology through the ages. when it was in, when it was out, famous astrologers of the past and the predictions they made. And it makes you really proud to be an astrologer, but it also makes you really be in awe of the ability to see things in the chart. And I know when I was teaching a class last week for Pam Gallagher's Midwest School of Astrology, and we were talking about what to say when you see things in the chart. And because the chart really is like your code, you can really see stuff. And I know I teach using examples from my clients or examples from my friends. And 99.9% of the time, because I've seen like 25,000 people in my years of being an astrologer, when I reference a story from the clients, I'm referencing it with permission. And often I change their names because, sometimes I use the real name and then they go, thanks for the shout out. And other times I use an alternate name, which, like when you read Brene Brown, she has quotes of talking with her therapist and talking here, but also changing the names or using the story because people remember by stories. So when we tell a story and we reference something, you file it. Oh, you file that aspect, you file that energy. So you're all going to look at Mars and Gemini as being on training wheels. That's going to stick as, oh, that's training wheels. Or when you meet somebody and they have an experience and you look at their experience and you go, okay, I understand it because that's in the chart. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Susie, the name of the last book was
Benson Bobbitt, The Fated Sky.
Yes. Okay.
FATED. Yeah.
All right. And so we have a little bit more of this turbulent weather this week, a 2 to a 15. My question is, what would make it a 15?
Because of the abruptness of the shift. So imagine you're flying along at, in Aquarius, you're a happy you love air, and then you dive into the ocean, right? Mm. So remember, when we change signs, we're changing from the extreme of one to the next of the other. So Aquarius is I'm detached, I'm intellectual, I don't really take it personally. We go into Pisces, everything's personal. I feel like I'm not detached anymore, like I'm feeling enmeshed in water. So that's when we shift energy. Now, you may like the shift, or you may go, oh my God, I hate it when we go into Mercury and Pisces. Everybody cries all the time. But your psychic skills get bigger. You have better dreams. Suddenly you're hearing song lyrics every time you're talking to somebody. And then the Pisces Sun and the Pisces Venus. The Pisces Sun goes from mergy, connected, related, but it goes into Aries where it's exalted and it's like, yes, go, go, go. But the Venus, she's exalted in Pisces, and then she goes into Aries and she's like, all right, I'm going to take you on. She's in Wonder Woman. She's like, okay, brother, let's get it on. So Venus gets hostile and the Sun gets assertive and Mercury gets emotional. And that all happens in like 3 days. So everybody's like, oh my God, like, today now they're sobbing. Okay, they were so mellow. Now all of a sudden they're barking and growling at me. Or they're like, okay, we're going to exercise. And, you're kind of like, yeah. So when it's because of the shifting, and remember the signs compensate. So Pisces is mergy, kumbaya. We're all in this together. Like, and Aries is like, I got to be me. I got to go my way. The heck with what you want. So Venus coming from, and then doing, the heck with what you want. I want to go do my thing. That's abrupt for people. Or, you're in relationship with the world. So somebody that was last week was nice. Suddenly this week they're yelling at you. And you're kind of like, all right, whatever. So that's why it's turbulent. Okay. How do you feel about water going to fire, or how do you feel about air going to water? Because it's such a big elemental shift. Does that make sense?
Yes, I do. It does. I'm thinking of last week you had us watching unfolding flowers, like flowers. It sounds like this week it might be good to watch like those. I'm thinking of those birds that just like dive into the ocean, go from like a high elevation down into the water, and it's just it seems like that Aquarius air to water. We might want to watch birds diving
or high diving,
or high diving. Yes,
cliff diving. Like you watch those guys in Acapulco in the cliff. When I was down there one time, we went to watch the clip, and I'm like, oh my God, but they do it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, for them, it's, you know, it makes the tourists nervous, but they like it, you know, so yeah.
Nice.
And then from water into fire, you know, Venus is, you know, just melancholy and, you know, related, but then as Romeo and Juliet, she goes and kills herself, you know, it's kind of like, Romeo, where are you? And then she's like, all right, I'm going to kill myself because they won't let me marry the guy I want, you know, and it's kind of like, whoa, girl, no, really, you don't have to kill yourself. Negotiate with your parents. You know? It's a real, and we do find that. That's often why the signs on either side of your planets you don't really like. Like, I'm a Virgo. Leos, you know, I love Leos. They're wonderful people, but I do find them a little bit puffy, you know, like me. And then Libras, they hate me. You know, I run into Libras and they're always like, oh, she's so fussy. I'm like, I'm not that fussy. Yeah, I am. But I, you know, like Libras go, oh my God, she just, you know, never, but always working. I'm like, yeah, I like to work. I mean, I get notes from my Libra clients going, you know, you work too hard. I'm like, you know, it's my decision to work hard. I like it. So, you know, so we compensate for, think of the sign behind you and the sign ahead of you and how you get along with those signs. Because very often there's an energy of fixing it. So Virgo, work. Libra goes, I think we should partner. We should have relationships. We should connect with each other. And so there's a shift. Does that make sense?
Yes. Is that because the way that the zodiac, you know, the way that we march through the zodiac, it's like it's almost like they're opposites as we go from one to the next, very different energies that we shift into.
Yeah.
But isn't there like a thread or a lesson from the one behind you and then also the one in front of you? So there's like this thread going through each one that's helping us learn the next part or the last part.
Right.
That makes sense?
So in my land, you come from Leo, so it's very creative. It's this and it does whatever. And then you go into Virgo and you go, trees aren't purple. And the Leo goes, my trees are purple. I like purple trees. So there's a conflict because the next sign tries to correct the previous sign's stuff. So the Cancer is all about taking care of everybody else. And then the Leo it's about what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times when I'll see somebody's things transferring from Cancer to Leo, I go, well, you're going to stop taking care of people. You're going to be more about yourself and being a queen. And they're like, well, my kid's going off to college. I'm like, all right, there you go. Right. Okay. So, you know, so you see, and then think about it, as we finish each season, Aries is the initiating. We stick a stick into a maple tree and we drag out the syrup, right? And we initiate spring. But then Taurus is everything's fixed and it all blooms. The flowers don't run around. The bees come to them. And, you know, we watch them and we're, oh, it's so pretty. And then Gemini, we got to get planting our garden. We got to figure out what we're going to plant. And then Cancer, we nurture it. And then Leo, it's all growing. We just throw a little water and eat a tomato for lunch and, you know, play. Virgo, we got to harvest. Libra, we go to the farmer's market, sell it, relate, connect, partner, communicate. Oh, you, me, how do we work? Scorpio, we go home and count our money. We also finish the dance Saturday night. We can maybe go home and get naked because, you know, that's what you do when you're Scorpio. And then we go to Sag, which is we finish counting our money. And now we're going to have the party between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then that's lights and camera and action. And then Capricorn comes and it says, take down the lights, put the clothes away, put away the presents under the tree, pay the bills, go on a diet because you ate so much when Sag. And then Aquarius, and do your work, prepare your taxes, find out what you're worth and your value, and get your 1099s or your W-4s or your W-2s. I never remember which one. You get the W-2 and whatever. You get the W's. And then Aquarius, okay, I've done that. Now work for the greater good of the group. Help raise the barn, do the quilt. And then Pisces, nothing to do but wait for spring. Let's dream, let's drift, let's come up with new ideas. Let's sing music. Let's give awards to people because this is award season for the film. They just announced the Oscars. We just had the Grammys. And then we go to spring again. And we have to get up and go out and do it. So each sign has a job in our agricultural model of astrology, which is really what the Western astrologers use because the sun so affects the growing seasons. And so we watch that march of the seasons through our lives. And also we come in to be our sun. Whatever your sun sign is, you're supposed to do that for your living. You know, if you're a Libra, you're supposed to relate. If you're a Leo, you're supposed to shine. I'm a Virgo, I'm supposed to work and serve. I'm doing my chart. Understanding what the vision is really important. If you understand your sun sign, that's the developmental path over this lifetime. So Libras sometimes come to me and go, I'm really bad at relationships. I'm like, well, you're learning how to do it. You're not supposed to be great at it. It's like a process. It's a lifetime process. So, yeah.
And that was an amazing impromptu march through the zodiac. Thank you so much for doing that. I think a lot of us are going to be listening to that again. And we just sort of like flowed into it. We didn't even know it was coming. It was just like, here we go. We're going through the zodiac.
You're going through the zodiac. It's Mercury in Aquarius. We're dropping a lot of news bombs in your life, right? Mercury at last degree. Anne's like, it's
get it all in before we
get it all in. Gotta put it all in there.
Right. All right, so here we go. We have a turbulent week and a range of 2 to 15. We may get used to taking action twice. Be gentle with yourself. It's part of it. You're learning. You're course correcting. It's not to try and avoid it. It's just embrace it. And don't get so frustrated with yourself when you have to do it. And if there's people in your life who don't realize why you're needing to do things twice, have them watch this video so that they get you a little slack and maybe cut themselves a little slack as well. Okay, it might be competitive. There's like a little competitive energy. We're going to be moving into a time of making less detached decisions. Yes. And we're going to be more emotional in our decision making, which could just mean to trust your body as a antenna, and when something feels right or feels wrong or feels off or feels like right in that sweet spot, trust that and make your decisions that way, because that's where the energy is. Go ahead.
I think it was you that said the Simon Sinek video. Yes. Simon, Sinek, the power of why. It's that the facts are all but what's the emotional resonance of the why, right? Yeah. And that's what Mercury going into Aquarius, Mercury going into water is going to go. It's like detached. You're seeing these two realities, but emotionally, what are you feeling, right? What's the emotional feeling behind it? And that's when he does that whole thing. It's like, why do you emotionally link in? So we're going from detached facts into emotional linking into what we want and why we want it. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And
that inner knowing, you can't articulate. You go, no, I'm not supposed to do it. Or, oh, I'm supposed to do that. That's that inner why.
And it's those times in a conversation where someone's asking you why and looking for a logical explanation, and it's where you have to just say, it just doesn't feel right to me, or it just does feel right to me. And that's that. So we're there. Now, this is also a time where we may feel more psychic, more dreamy. A few resources for you on that. First of all, I did an interview with John Edward last week, in which he spoke so highly of Anne. And he is the main reason that you are the main reason he was even on the show or even in my life at this point, because he was watching us week after week after week and loves your New York, like straight shooter style.
We're both New Yorkers. We both talk New York.
Exactly. So if you missed that, though, it was a great interview. He was incredible, and people loved it. They learned so much. That's on the podcast last week. So wherever you listen to this podcast or watch this podcast, you can go back and see the one that just happened with John Edward. Also, in the inner circle, people have been recommending a book called Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, I love his stuff's great. Yes.
Oh, wow. This book is so good, especially in this realm. If we're going to be developing our other senses, this would be a really good book to accompany us on that journey. So it's called Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I am loving it. It's so good.
He has podcasts on Gaia that are very good too.
Yes, I just saw that he has all those shows, a show on Gaia, right? Gaia.com.
Yep. He's got free shows and he's got pay for shows, both. Yeah, my friend Sonia turned me on to him. We were out last summer for my birthday at her house, and she put him on. We all sat around the TV meditating. It was very cool. So,
and we have a question from Warrior Girl 113.
Hi, Warrior Girl 113. Yeah.
The question is, I've got a question. 7 to 8 volcanoes all erupted on the same day around the world. Is it in part because of Aries building everything up over 6 months in Mercury retrograde?
Yeah. Also, the Uranus Saturn, the Uranus Mars square. Uranus is volcanoes. So what happened last week was the moon triggered that square. So it woke it up. I mean, what happens when planets are in a square? Then when other planets come along and wake them up or hit them. So we had the square in February, and Uranus is changes in Saturn's structures. So we know we're going to have a lot of volcanic activity this year. Yeah.
Well, and does it Uranus in Taurus too? So then it would be
just
Earth, right?
The Earth, right? And then Saturn in Aquarius, let's shake it all up.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to have a lot of earthquakes this year. Yeah.
Nice question.
We're having earthquakes in our lives, so we're going to have earthquakes in the world, right? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. And thank you so much. This has been so helpful. Is there any other things we need to pay attention to this week? I think we kind of got the wrap up there.
We did it. Let me just double check. Sun going into Aries, Mercury going into Pisces. Mercury meets up with Athena, so you're going to have a real inspiration, like the 18th, 19th. I'm like, oh, I should do that. Mercury square Mars, but that's next week, so that's a little bit more of a fighty energy. We did Venus going in. Mars is kind of quiet this week. He does have a little bit of a stressful aspect with Uranus, and he has a sesquiquadrate with Pluto, but again, that's next week. So, nothing. Those are the biggies. And I think it is also, just kind of recognizing, if it does feel like there's a flood, remember there's a lot of planets in water. So if you feel flooded emotionally, it really, that can make you feel very ungrounded. So if you have crystals, or you can do some exercise, or even just laying on the ground, laying on the floor, laying on something solid so you feel connected, or whatever you use to ground yourself, because people can feel extra psychic. And I was reading something the other day, and they were saying, psychic stuff comes in through the feet. Now, interestingly, that feet are ruled by Pisces, right? So I'm like, interesting, psychic stuff comes in through the feet. Well, it is the Piscean, and it's where we ground on Earth. So, do stuff with your feet. Give yourself a foot massage, oil, because it'll help ground the Piscean energy, like rub your feet. Or maybe, put some warm socks on, or get a little, one of those little vibrator things that make your toes feel good. Or get your partner to rub your feet and then say you'll rub theirs. Because Pisces is all about the feet.
Well, and take your shoes off if you're not somewhere freezing, and put your feet on the ground. And how interesting that psychic ability comes to the feet, and we're so disconnected from the ground at this point. I mean, we've got cement covering everything. I mean, it's like harder to connect to the ground. So we have to actually seek it out. But it sounds like if we're in this kind of psychic energy time, we're developing those other senses, that would be a really good thing to do. Thanks I'm glad you brought that in. Okay. We are going to be announcing the new project with Anne. Actually, there's several new projects with Anne. There's a very exciting one coming very soon. If you want to be the first to get the sneak peek on what that is, make sure you are signed up for our Cosmic Insider mailing list. You can do that by going to astrologyhub.com/podcast. astrologyhub.com/podcast. It'll say sign up to get, weekly emails from us. This is basically where we summarize the episodes for the week, but it's also where you're going to get the inside information on what's coming with Anne very, very soon. If you're already on our mailing list, you're going to get it. But that's astrologyhub.com/podcast. And we're very excited. It's in the works. It's in like beta right now. We're testing it.
We're in beta testing. Yeah. I was really nervous. That's why I was electing the chart. I'm like, hey, let me get a good chart. And then I got a good chart. I'm like, all right, I can send it off, But yeah, I was nervous. So Jamie, who was behind the scenes in our camera here, she wrote back, you were nervous? I'm like, I was really, because Virgo's getting a little neurotic. They're like, oh, whatever.
It's so adorable to me. It's like you've been doing this forever, and you're it's so
I'm excited. Yeah, my old therapist used to say excitement and nervous all feel the same in the body.
Exactly.
So anxiety is actually a form of excitement, which, when you frame it that way, people go, you think I'm excited. I'm anxious. It's like, well, the body feels it the same way. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, plus it shows that you care and you're still alive. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I think when we get those like nervous butterflies and we're doing something new and we're on that growing edge, it's like we're still alive. That's good. That's really good. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's all coming very soon, and I think you're all gonna love it. And
hopefully. And if you don't, that's okay. I'm not going to take it personally. That's because the Mercury's in Aquarius right now. But I might take it personally, tomorrow when the Mercury's in Pisces.
Perfect. Oh my gosh. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us every week. We love to spend this time with you. Thanks for all of your fun comments in the chat, and keep them coming. I do screenshot and share lots of them with Anne.
Yes. So, I don't read them because I get too nervous, but it's okay.
Isn't that adorable, you guys?
I have Mercury square Mars, so I'm like, I say it to some of my clients that are famous. I'll go or aspiring to be famous. I'll be like, and don't read your reviews, because when you read your reviews, you take it personally, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, I don't read anything. My assistant reads it. You send me nice things. You don't send me mean things. So I'm like, all right, that's good. Nice things. But yeah, it's hard. It's, Mercury, Mars.
It's hard for everybody, but you get so much love in the chat. It's amazing. So
thank you for the love in the chat, but that's good. Yeah.
Yes. All right, everybody, have a great week, and thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for tuning into your weekly astrological weather, and thank you as always for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Have a good week.